Yes, I'd like to announce that we are having a community conversations tomorrow night on February the 25th at 7 o'clock. So all the residents are welcome to come to that.
Where is it at?
This is at the Kiwanis Lodge. And we had today we had some input on the gas aggregation. So I'll give a brief update, but we're looking into it, and we'll have some things a little more on the website, I think, for clarification. There appears to be a number of people that had a gas contract that apparently did not get a contact letter from the NOPEC, and so they would have to remove themselves, I believe, from the contract and then opt in to the NOPEC thing. So it's a little different than we heard before, but we'll have to get a little more background because we just got this notice today. So
you're saying they can remove themselves from their contract?
Yeah, in most cases, and again, there's maybe more options than not. You have to each individual case. So if they want to.
Thank you.
So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Chief Newman?
Thank you, Council President Henry, Mayor Roche, and members of council. A couple of items this evening. Yesterday evening, I received an email from FEMA advising me that a grants management specialist has been assigned to conduct a desk review of our SAFER grant. Now, this is not an uncommon audit. It happens quite frequently. The SAFER grant is an acronym for the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response Grant. This consists of a series of questions that need to be completed and submitted along with supporting documentation. Most of the requested information pertains to budget, audits, fiscal policies, and procedures, very little to do with Division of Fire. The information is due back to FEMA by close of business Wednesday, March 18th, 2015. So we have a little over 2 weeks. I received notification via email about 6:30 last night. I'm going to need Finance Division's assistance on it. I believe that Mr. Ellis will probably be assisting me on this project. And I'm confident that we'll complete it on time and get all the requested information in. Also today, I received a call from the Insurance Services Office advising me that on March 11th, they'll be in the city of Richmond Heights to conduct an assessment of the Division of Fire. This happens about once every 15 years. The last assessment was performed in the city of Richmond Heights in 1998, so it's been 17 years. The results of the assessment determine the public protection classification, what's known as the PPC of our city. The ISO is an independent company that serves insurance companies, communities, fire departments, insurance regulators, and others by providing information about risk. ISO's public protection classification plays an important role in the underwriting process at insurance companies. Many U.S. insurers use PPC information as decision-making tool when deciding what premiums to charge for personal commercial property insurance. ISO analyzes the data, assigns a public protection class, which is a number between 1 and 10. Class 1 represents an exemplary fire suppression program, and Class 10 indicates that the area's fire suppression program does not meet the minimum criteria. Currently, the city of Richmond Heights has an ISO rating of 4, which is a good rating. Community PPC, public protection classification, depends on 3 areas. One is the fire department, including the equipment, staffing, training, geographic distribution of fire companies. Water supply, which includes the condition and maintenance of the hydrants, alternative water supply operations, and a careful evaluation of the available water compared with the amount needed to suppress fires in your area. And communications. Receiving and handling fire alarms, including telephone systems, telephone lines, staffing, and dispatching systems. They'll be in on March 11th. Lieutenant Jason Buss and I will be leading this project to provide them with all the information. We have a lot of pre-inspection surveys to complete, and we'll have to make a trip to our dispatch center to make sure that they have everything that they need as well. Our building official will probably be involved in this as they also look at different aspects of your inspection programs. We should have a strong review. I anticipate a strong review. The only other thing I have is that on Monday, April 13th, 2015, we have a Heart Saver CPR course scheduled at the fire station from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. It's on our website. We've already had some response. I have 3 people signed up for it, and we're still over a month away, so that's good. And with that concludes my report, if anybody has any questions.
Yes, what date did you say the ISO assessment is going to take place?
ISO will be in on March 11th, which I believe is a Wednesday.
Thank you. Will it be all day or a couple hours?
Yes. In fact, Lieutenant Buss works with another organization when he's not here, and conveyed to me that they were there for 7 hours on that day. We do a lot of work on the front end to provide them with water distribution grids and our records keeping, but then they're here actually doing a site survey, going through the apparatus, going through our records, going through different areas. There will probably be a follow-up trip or 2 afterwards as well. All of the other area departments surrounding us have actually been visited by ISO in 2014. It was expected that they would be visiting us soon. In fact, I'm surprised that we're into 2015 and they're just not coming.
Thank you. Police Chief Rowe.
Thank you, Madam President, Mayor, and members of council, and residents. You may recall that in 2013, our department investigated a case that started out as an accident and ultimately ended up in an investigation of possible attempted murder. As you may also recall, there was a trial in 2014, and they did get a conviction. However, the defendant appealed that conviction, and the conviction has been overturned and has been remanded to a new trial, which is bad news in the sense that our guys were down there for a solid week testifying, so they're going to have to go through this again. But one of the reasons I mentioned it is it was interesting reading the appellate court's decision as they went through the points that the defendant made. There was a note in here that my understanding is quite unusual for an appellate court to address, and I'll just read it. It says, we begin our analysis by noting the excellent investigation conducted in this case by the Richmond Heights Police Department. Rarely do we review a case where police go to such lengths to investigate facts related to a possible crime. The police did a comprehensive investigation, leaving no stone unturned. That's rather unusual that a court would address that, and I think, again, once again shows what a good job detectives we did on that case. So there'll be another trial, and we'll see what happens this time. There were trial court errors that were made that the case was remanded to a new trial for. It wasn't anything involved in the investigation itself. Other than that, police activity is, again, we're only a little less than 2 months into the year, so there's not really much to be made of the statistics. We're up in some areas. The only one that I really like seeing is that we're down 7 burglaries compared to last year. Last year our burglaries were a little crazy the first half of the year, so hopefully that trend will continue to go down. That's all I have.
Thank you. Building Commissioner Sebo.
Thank you. Council President Henry, Mayor Roach, and members of council, just very briefly, I wanted to announce that the Planning Commission will hold a public meeting in this hall on March 11th, which is Wednesday, at which they will address the goings-on at Richmond Town Square. We're going to invite by mail all of the owners and business managers from the businesses in the mall to that meeting. We've invited people from Simon and Gempshire too, but we don't believe that they're going to be attending. They said that they had other commitments, but Economic Development Director has graciously agreed to come and let everybody know what she knows about the mall, and we're going to take public comments and put together some minutes of the meeting so that we have the members of the general public and the businesses in the mall have a chance to voice their concerns and comment on the things that are going on, and maybe give ideas on things that could be done to improve their businesses up there.
Date and time again, please?
So that's good. I'm sorry?
The date and time?
The date and time again is March 11th, and it's going to be a normal Planning Commission session, which will be held in this room at 7 o'clock in the evening.
Are you saying this is open to the public as well, other than those businesses? I didn't get that, but it sounded like you were saying that. I don't know.
It's basically a Planning Commission session at which the Planning Commission will hear ideas and concerns from both the businesses and citizens regarding what might be able to be done up at the Richmond Town Square to spur new business or to voice concerns on how they feel their situation is up there. So the only other thing that the building department is involved in during these unusually cold days recently we're still involved in inspecting the common areas of a lot of our large apartment buildings. We've done several of our complexes, and we're going to do more of these next couple of weeks so that by the time our new fire safety inspector starts, we've got a roster of things for the man to start on and follow up on. And that concludes my report.
I think I'd like to just add, I think the Planning Commission's actually doing this as part of a kind of a master plan review.
Yes.
Part of the segment. So it's basically going through the special areas of the city under the Richmond Town Squares, on the commercial areas, and so it was in light of like a master plan review. So.
That's correct. We had intended originally to involve all the businesses around the intersection of Richmond Road and Wilson Mills Road, and then after discussing it, we decided to limit this meeting to the mall businesses and then have a separate meeting again in another couple of months on other businesses at Hilltop Plaza and at the other businesses up there.
So we'll be doing some of the preliminary work. Hopefully we'll be getting potentially a grant next year for actually doing the full-fledged master plan. But this is sort of a preliminary getting a head start going forward. So Phil's started to pull this together very well.
So is the Economic Development Director also involved with having Phil pull this together? Are
She's
you
attending
involved
the
too?
meeting.
I'm participating in the meeting, and we were working on it, and I'm still reading up, obviously, but I've been involved. I've looked over some of the material and we talked about what we were going to do, so definitely looking at it.
So do either of you know what the status of Hilltop Plaza's renovation is at this point?
Well, Hilltop Plaza really is not renovating. Hilltop Plaza got an adjudication order from the building department about 1 year ago right now to correct serious deficiencies in some of their buildings. And as a result of that order, last spring and summer, they corrected numerous violations on the eastern building of their complex and spent about a $250,000 on the roof and on the front facade. This spring, they will be given a new laundry list of violations on the western building to correct various similar violations of the property maintenance code and the health code. Frankly, a lot of the building roofs are leaking, and we're going to continue to follow up on that, on the violations that were listed in that initial letter a year ago, and we will continue to hold their feet to the fire to make them improve the fronts of the building. But they really weren't remodeling. They were correcting violations that were brought to their attention in our order.
All right, thank you. Mr. Martin?
Madam President, my pet peeve are signs, especially in that location, both the directional and commercial signs. The stop signs, the no parking signs, the fire lanes. A lot of those signs are faded and in very bad condition. Last week at the safety committee, the chief informed me and the rest of us that that was really a building department's problem as far as making it aware to the property owners about that. So I hope that is one of the things on your list. I know it's not remodeling, but I think that if they want to have some kind of form of ordinance, traffic flow, some of those signs are in very bad condition.
Parking lot lighting was part of the original letter, which was already corrected, and handicapped signage was part of the original letter, which was already corrected. But stop signs and directional signs, I have to tell you, were not part of the original letter. So when I follow up within the next couple of weeks with the management of the Hilltop Plaza, with the receivers on their next list of things to do, we will address the stop signs and the other signs. And as soon as we can see those signs again after some of the mountains of snow go away, we'll take some pictures and itemize what we want them to do. We haven't done that yet, though, I have to admit to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finance Director, Rick Taylor?
Thank you, Madam President, Mayor Roach, members of council, and residents. The Mayor spoke about this briefly, but basically the main thrust of my report tonight will be to talk about the audit. I met with Matt Goldman today from the Auditor of State's office, had a brief kickoff meeting. We have tentatively scheduled to begin next Thursday, March the 5th. This is subject to change. They've apparently had some delays with other audits due to bad weather, so it's a possibility it won't start then, but I'm basically planning on them being here next week. I'm still waiting and have been promised an engagement letter related to the audit. Unfortunately, these things sometimes happen a little cart before the horse, but that will need to be considered and approved by council at some point. It's my understanding that, and he's represented to me, that's going to cost about the same as it did the last time for the 2-year audit. The only additional thing about that is we had discussed the possibility, my understanding it's been customary for council to be involved in a pre-audit conference. He has offered to do that. He's able to, representatives of the Auditor of State are able to meet in the evening. I would just ask that members of council check their schedules and see what might work for them and give me a few options so that I can get back with him and let him know. I'm thinking most likely a Tuesday evening before a council meeting might work for everybody, but I'll leave that up to your judgment.
Are you indicating before he starts, are you saying after March 5th or before March 5th?
Well, they call it a pre-audit. He basically said a lot of these don't take place until the audit actually starts. It's just kind of the way that it works out. But at some point, I mean, they're going to be here March 5th. But apparently, he wanted to make sure that council has been involved like they have been in the past and give the opportunity to schedule that meeting. he's basically saying it doesn't have to be done before the 5th, obviously, but sometime during the month of March is what he's shooting for.
How long do you think it'll take?
I'm sorry?
The meeting, how long?
They generally take an hour or so.
You want to try next week at the,
Right before this meeting?
well, so it wouldn't be before that, it would be planning and zoning and recreation. I'm sure we could,
Yes, and that would be March 3rd, I think.
if you want to start like 7 o'clock, at least that way.
I think, didn't he take more than, well, 30 minutes might be enough,
It's
right?
not a public,
No, it
Well,
wasn't.
that's,
so you want to not put
Right, so maybe we better start earlier, like an hour before.
want to go 6 to 7?
Yes. Yes.
No. Or we could go 6:30 to 7:30, and then just go right on at 7:30 to the other meetings.
Because I think it might be done in 30 and 45 minutes.
Why don't you go 6:30 to 7:30?
Or 6:30 to 7:30.
And then we can get this thing out of the way.
Yes.
Well, do we know that they're available for that?
I'll have to check, but I'll float it by him tomorrow, and if there's a problem, I'll let you know via
I mean,
email.
we don't have to advertise or anything for this, because it's not a,
No, they're actually, they are not public meetings, no.
well, that's what I'm saying,
Right.
so, okay.
Yeah, and I think he preferred it being through the week versus, he was trying to get for Friday, or else I think he wanted a Monday. It was
Well,
like,
I mean, we all have to be here, well, we
Right.
don't all
So
have to be
Tuesday
here,
would be
but
ideal.
We're gonna be here
So-
Tuesday anyway, so if we, I'm just saying it makes,
right.
and
Well,
that
I
way.
wonder if we have to give him alternative day. That's the, remember before we had to post 2 days because we gave him one day and then he was like, no, it wasn't good for him. But I think that was because we had offered a Friday one time before.
Why don't you see if you can go with Tuesday?
Okay, and if that doesn't work, another Tuesday would be amenable to the rest of the council?
Then I'll be gone, I think on the 10th. I may be gone, I think. So then I would need to go the 17th or after. Because I think the next weekend, I know I'm gonna be gone, March 10th. So it would have to be the 17th or the 24th.
Okay, if that works for everybody, I'll offer the 3rd as a first choice, and if that doesn't work, one of the other 2 dates?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you, that concludes my report for this evening.
All right, thank you. Next is Service Department. Mr. Berniski.
Thank you, Madam Council President and Mayor and Council. Over the last couple of weeks, it happened that on Monday during recycling, it was double digit below zero. We actually delayed in recycle pickup. We had a few calls on that, but basically it still was, we picked it up later on in the afternoon once the temperature rose. One of the mornings, it was so cold that the cars, most of the cars weren't even defrosted going down the road, so having them out on the road was basically a safety issue as far as I was concerned. So I'm hoping we don't have to do that anymore, but that's why that happened. Present time, we're still doing some rearranging down at the service department. My men are getting enrolled in different training classes for tree trimming, tree planting, baseball diamonds, equipment maintenance and operation. And, there's snow plowing.
Where are they getting those classes at? You said they're getting enrolled. Is it at Tri-C or where?
Well, Ohio State Department of Forestry is doing the tree planting one. Holden Arboretum has a 3-day class for tree survival, and they teach you everything from the beginning of planting a tree, the structure of the tree, how it repairs itself, and then there's a hands-on, the 3rd day is a hands-on out in the field where you're actually planting the tree and learning how to prune them and everything else. And then we have a 1-day class over in Hudson where they will go out there and they have a whole section of woods where they're going to learn how to trim the trees properly, which we do a lot of here in the city. So So I figured it was good to have the guys learn the proper way of doing the trimming so that we don't lose any trees that we're working on. There's some ball diamond classes that are being held by Baker Equipment, show the guys how to use the equipment on the field, proper materials so that we can play on the fields much quicker this year. And then also a hustler class. We have hustler lawnmowers and proper maintenance and procedures for operating the equipment so that we have fewer breakdowns.
Are these low-cost trainings? This is a lot
Most of them
training.
are free, except for the tree planting ones. The 3-day course costs $135.
Per person?
Yes, and I'll have one person going to that.
One person?
Well, he can come back and teach everybody else what's going on. It's a very informative class. It has all the literature and come back, bring it back to us. I did the same thing in Winthrop. I took the course, came back, and taught about 5 or 6 of my guys that were out doing the trees. The information was phenomenal because it was things that you would not even think about, and it helped you out. And we did a lot of planting, and if we do some more planting here in the city, it's very important that you do it right.
Right, that's why I just thought one person. What if he gets run over next week? So he got all the training.
I'm his backup.
Goddamn, I'll get run over.
Madam President, I do have a question for you. In the future, when you have occurrences where you can't get out and do something like recycling, if you could just shoot me a quick email, that way I can make sure we get a notice up on the website.
Oh, okay. We also had that same situation, I think it was 2 Mondays ago, where Waste Management even canceled out because of the snow. And they didn't even inform us until closer to 8 o'clock.
Right, but that day I actually put the notice up on
Right.
the website, so if in the future, just a quick email,
Okay.
that's the best way to get it, and we have the paper trail, and I'll get it right out.
No problem.
Madam
I
Chair.
think in that one, the incident too, we also did already notify, I think, for whoever signed up for that. So
Yes, Randy, we
try to
guys
get
can
the
go.
information out.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I know that we lose a lot of mailboxes this time of the year. Our City View letter that went out spoke to the issue quite well, I thought, and hopefully the residents would have read that and understand it. Have we lost a lot of mailboxes? Have we gotten a lot of complaints of damaged properties?
I think the letter worked quite well because I think I only had one reply since then.
That's great. Yeah, I thought it was a very, very good article. It talked about what will be replaced if there was damage, and just a wave of snow does not constitute our responsibility to fix that.
And a few of the ones that I've looked at and talked to the residents about were not even our issue, it was more of the private power
Oh,
did hit their mailboxes. And some of them were just not attached well at all. I had to put in a little instruction. on
Right.
how to do that.
very good. As a councilman, that seems to be the big call item in the winter months. You owe me a mailbox.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Acting City Engineer Chris Courtney.
Thank you, Madam President, Mayor, and Council. I have a couple quick items. At the last council meeting, there was a couple questions that were asked related to Highland Road. Some of you saw the email that I sent out while we were in the meeting. I received no response to that and chased down the county's inspector after a number of days. He advised that the anticipated construction start would be mid-April. It's weather dependent. I also looked at the pavement markings on the road, and when there's no snow on the road, they don't appear to be that bad, considering the fact that they are temporary pavement markings, and they will be replaced once the contractor is back to work in the spring. I will keep an eye on it. It's at a point where they are not visible. We'll talk to the county about putting some, no edge lines, no center lines, no traffic marking type signs to have people be aware of the fact that there may be some visible pavement markings on the road. And then secondly, Richmond Road, as discussed over the course of the last year, we will continue to push ODOT to get out here and try to re-rank Richmond Road and the reconstruction of Richmond Road earlier than 2019, fearing that it's not going to last that long. And then the Service Director, Bisky, and I talked last week briefly about some different strategies we might be able to use this year in order to improve the rideability, from joint replacement to some specialized kind of milling that we can use the knocks in the high spots. And we'll continue to have those discussions and try to come up with the most appropriate, lowest cost solution for trying to address that as we continue to get the roadway going. And Lee will be back this weekend, so enjoyed my time with you, and if you ever need me, just whistle.
Thank you very much for stepping in. Economic Development Director, Crystal Fisk.
Thank you, Madam President, Mayor, members of council. I just have a few brief comments this evening. Last week, Mayor Roach and the building commissioner and I had an opportunity to meet with the people from WP Blanchard, and they are the company that has purchased Simon Mall. So what wound up happening was Richmond Town Square not only has the closing of Macy's, but the mall is now being run by a brand new company. WP Blanchard is a company that has a much smaller portfolio, so Richmond Town Square will be one of 40 malls as opposed to being one of, I believe, 160 malls that Simon had. So it becomes more important to WP Blanchard, and from the meetings that we had, it was apparent that WP Blanchard is trying to do what they can to assess the situation of the mall and figure out what would work well for the community. And I'm very much encouraged by the level of interest that they're showing in this new asset that they have. And they actually have some other pretty important properties, including Polaris Mall in Columbus. So hopefully that will be a good change for the city. As far as Macy's in particular, it says that they mentioned that they are set to close in early April, but they do have a broker that they're really working with, trying to get a marketing plan together, with the goal being to try to get it occupied and sold preferably as soon as possible, which may mean that they have to divide up the space and either sell it or lease it to one entity on the top level and one entity on the bottom. So as we hear more about what's going on, and as we have this planning commission meeting, we'll definitely keep you posted. And the information that we learn will definitely go into our community development block grant application for a master plan update for 2016. As far as one other quick thing, the mall, WP Blanchard indicated that they believe that the other anchor tenants, meaning Sears and Penny's, are likely to be stable for now. So I know there's a lot of rumors out there about Penny's and Sears, but it looks like they're stable at this point. This week, everyone's been working really, well, I've been working and getting a lot of help and support from the other department heads in preparation for seeking the $100,000 demolition grant. So that goes out this coming Friday. We're seeking $80,000 to demolish the property, the gas station on Garden Road, and then $20,000, $10,000 each to demolish, to build the houses on Richmond Park West and one on Highland Road. So we're making progress there, and hopefully we'll be able to get that taken care of with help from the land bank this spring. And then just to let you know, this is from the rec department. The city is in negotiations with the YMCA, and hopefully we'll have some information for you at the next meeting about the YMCA managing and helping run the swimming pool this summer. So I believe with that, I have nothing further unless you have questions.
I do. And to the mayor as well, I guess. Do you all have any status on possible employees you were after?
Oh, I don't have any.
Did the mayor? because if we're looking at the why handling this, so,
Yeah, right now, we're taking resumes for the rec director, so we haven't identified or really started interviews for the rec director.
thank you. And the other thing is, I was wondering, with Glimpsure, did they discuss their management plan or their philosophy about, I guess, sustaining malls, the livelihood of their malls?
They did in the sense that they are looking at whether this current model is going to work 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line. I mean, when we met with the people from WC Bunch, they had come up from Columbus, and they were sort of touring different parts of Northeast Ohio and looking at other kinds of models where you have doors that lead, instead of you having to go into the mall, the doors are on the outside, sort of more like a legacy Eaton collection.
So they're considering possibly changing their model.
Right. And they're talking about making some pretty substantial investments in the mall.
That's good news.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yes, and in the past too, they used it as a training ground for managers. That's what Simon did. So that's why I was wondering about their philosophy. But if they're looking into investing, then they have a philosophy that's probably different. So.
Right. They seem committed to, well, the first step they're going to take is exploring what would work here, putting together a plan, and then they've indicated that they want to keep the city inside of what they're doing, because they believe that to the extent the city knows what's going on, you can have a cohesive and strong working relationship, which is a good philosophy.
So how are they planning to do that? Pardon me. How are they planning to obtain that? Did they set up meetings or plan to set meetings between you, the mayor, and someone in the city?
We're going to have an ongoing discussion relationship. We've met with, I think, 8 different people related to Macy's and the mall. And I also, I believe the Great Lakes Mall is part of their malls, and so they do have a dual coverage of the management. So mall managers are similar and the same person, and the marketing person's the same person. So, and they're also, I think, had indicated of changing the Great Lakes Mall to modify some of their buildings there to have access from the outside. You've seen that in the news, I think, in the last several weeks.
Yeah, it seems like it's a much more popular way to do retail shopping. And they're looking at a lot of different things. They're saying that standard apparel retail may not be the way to go because it's just so saturated. So they're thinking the highest and best use is still retail, but it might be some other kind of retail. So that's what they're exploring now, because people like to buy their clothes online a lot.
Thank you. Mr. Alexander has a question.
But they are not sending a representative to the March 11th meeting?
They, at this point, they are not, are you talking about WC Bunch?
Yes.
At this point, they are not. But just because they're not at the March 11th meeting doesn't mean that they're.
No, it's what my suggestion would be. If they're not going to send someone, then I would hope that we would make sure that they would get minutes of those meetings. So they know what's said, what
Absolutely.
what their tenants are saying to the city.
Right. I think the manager is out of town, but perhaps maybe you can reiterate how important it would be for
Right.
someone.
Well, but on our part too, is if, I understand there's reasons, but I just want to make sure that because I think that's an important start, that meeting, and if they have the minutes from that meeting, at least they have stuff to work with then.
Any more to report?
No, that's fine.
Okay. We will take questions from the audience. Any comments? Okay, thank you. old business.
Ordinance 12, 2015, introduced by Alexander, second reading. An ordinance amending section 1177.05 of the Planning and Zoning Code to amend lot planting requirements.
Mr. Alexander, would you like to comment?
This has been talked about. It's been through the planning commission meeting and everything. It will stay on second reading pending the public hearing, which is March 10th.
Thank you. We'll move to new business.
Ordinance 16, 2015, introduced by O'Toole, first reading. An ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Richmond Heights, State of Ohio, during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2015, to amend ordinance number 136, 2014, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. O'Toole, would you like to comment?
Yes, Madam President. A lot of work has gone on to prepare the budget for 2015. We've had 2 half-day Saturday meetings, a full Finance Committee meeting, and much work has been done behind the scenes by our Finance Department, our Mayor's Office, and all of the department heads have put their heads together along with Council's input to produce a budget that I think prudently spends the money this year, helps us maintain a healthy general fund balance as we're requested to do so and demanded to do so by the auditors of state, and allows us to move forward with the things that we promised we would do when we passed the last tax increase. So I think this is the product of a lot of hard work, and I do not think we should pass it tonight. There still needs, and we need the opportunity to continue deliberating and making changes, but it must be passed before March 31st of this year. So it's being read tonight as our first reading, and it's been a lot of good work, and I appreciate everyone's help in doing so.
We're going to hold it on the first reading then.
Ordinance 17, 2015, introduced by O'Toole, first reading. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 6, 2015, establishing a special fund designated as the Regional Fire Grant Fund.
Mr. O'Toole, would you like to comment?
Yes, Madam President. We had created a special fund to house a regional fire grant fund, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, it's been decided that we should withdraw from that grant. So this legislation basically removes that fund from our budget. So I would move for a suspension of the rules.
Second.
Alexander?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Cuman?
Yes.
Lentine?
Yes.
Lewis? O'Toole?
Yes.
Move for passage. Second.
Alexander? Henry?
Yes.
Cuman?
Yes.
Lentine?
Yes.
Lewis? O'Toole?
Yes.
Resolution number 17, 2015 passes unanimously.
Resolution 18, 2015, introduced by Lentine, first reading. A resolution repealing Resolution 79, 2014, and opt-out of participation in the Regional Assistance to Firefighters Grant from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
Mr. Lentine, would you like to comment?
Yes, Madam Chairman, or Madam President, excuse me. Talking about what Mr. O'Toole just commented on a few minutes ago, this piece of resolution number 18-2015, late last year, the City Council passed a resolution number 79-2014. That resolution gave the City of Richmond Heights the opportunity to participate in a regional U.S. Department of Homeland Security assistance to the firefighters grant. With new information and other requirements for this grant, the city has determined that it is not in the best interest for us at this time. So the Safety Committee of Council has recommended to the City Council to opt out and repeal Resolution 79-2014. With that being said, that is what this resolution number 18-2015 will do. So the Richmond Heights Safety Committee of Council has recommended to the Council of the Whole passage to repeal Resolution number 79-2014.
Move for suspension.
Second.
Alexander?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Cuman?
Yes.
Lentine?
Yes.
Lewis? O'Toole?
Yes.
Move for passage.
Second the motion.
Alexander?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Cuman?
Yes.
Lentine?
Yes.
Lewis? O'Toole?
Yes.
Any additions? Oh, I'm sorry, Resolution 18, 2015 passes unanimously. Are there any additions? Yes, thank you.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to add fire safety inspector into the pay ordinance and give direction to the law director to draw the appropriate legislation to create that position.
Second.
O'Toole?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Cuman?
Yes.
Lentine?
Yes.
Lewis?
Motion passes. Any more additions? All right.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Give it to Hannah.
We adjourn.
Right.
You guys to sign this stuff. I was looking for my stuff. I'm like, where?
And that's the way it was. Video?